In this video, we're going to go into part 2 of Dominion and Power, or The Science of Life and Living by Charles Brody Patterson. Welcome to my channel. I am Daisy, your hostess. If you're new to my channel and you would like to catch up with this book, please visit my book playlist and you'll access it there. And to my subscribing community, welcome back. Welcome back. I want to take a minute here to say thank you for your comments, and also very encouraging when I get the report from the YouTube team letting me know that the videos are being shared. So that's really sweet of you to do that and to share the content on my channel. Really appreciate it. As a note mentioned in the first video, which has the preface and also chapter 1 of part 1, this section, part 2, is actually an addition that you'll find on the 7th edition of this book, which was revised and also, as he noted, enlarged to add more, as he said, of a wholeness to the book itself. So it will be interesting to see how this will segue with the first content of part 1. So if you're ready, I am ready, and I'm going to go ahead and turn the page. Part 2, Chapter 1. Practical Idealism. Some people have a great deal of the practical and very little of the idealistic. Again, other people are very idealistic without having much that is practical. But between any two extremes is always found the something that will prove truly beneficial. Idealism that is not practical is of very little benefit to anyone. And again, one who is not idealistic has really not yet begun to live. For if a man became so practical that he lives only to accumulate material wealth, his life is in reality wasted. We need both. We need to be like the trees that grow, sending their roots down deep into the ground, and yet sending their branches up into the heavens. While living in this world, we should try to receive all the good that the world can possibly give. It is a mistake to believe that we should live in this world as ascetics, or that we are merely pilgrims here for a little time, and the sooner we get through with the world, the better it will be. Such people will awaken sometime to a knowledge of their mistake. To pass through the world without getting the benefit that the world offers is to lose much. Sometimes it is easier to hold to one thing than it is to adjust one's life to two conditions, and yet these two conditions of life are necessary. An inner consciousness is as necessary to life as an outer consciousness, and the man or woman who neglects one or the other is going to be one-sided, lacking true adjustment. The world more frequently recognizes the one-sidedness of the people who tend toward idealism, while oblivious of the narrowness of those who give up their time and all their thought to the accumulation of material things. People would not consider it one-sidedness in the latter case because it is the common way of the world, and we look upon this common way as being a very essential way, a necessary way. If anyone should come into our practical, our utilitarian world today and try to imitate the Master, the great Nazarene, living his life, going about from place to place, often having nowhere to lay his head, often hungry and thirsty, we would say that such a man was not practical in this age and in this generation. But let me tell you that we have forgotten all about the practical men of his generation. While this one great soul stands out unique and alone because the life was lost in thought for others, in thinking and doing and caring for others. The practical side of life passes away. Only the ideal lives on forever. Thus we eventually come to see that ideals dominate life, and without ideals we are little better than the animals. The squirrels store up their nuts sufficient to last them through the hard and cold winter. We know so much better than the squirrels. We store up not only sufficient to last through the winter or the rainy day, but sufficient to last one generation after another generation, and we think that in doing this we are accomplishing God's work. If we could only understand that we are here to live life. We are here to give expression to every power and to every possibility that is written into the life. But supposing someone undertakes to make life so easy for another to live that it prevents any real incentive on his part for giving expression to his innate powers and possibilities, what benefit or what good can such a course accomplish? It must, of necessity, retard development and keep back the evolution of life. For when people give all their thought and attention to storing up this world's goods for their children, they are doing that which invariably interferes with their development. Work is a necessity to life. And if we are not working, if we are not expressing, then we are not fulfilling life. It is, therefore, quite possible to so enrich others with material wealth that instead of being a help to them, it becomes a very decided hindrance. We need strong, true ideals in life, and then we must make the effort to express our ideals. Idealism does not mean that there is no outer world and that ideals are all, but that ideals exist first, and that sooner or later must come their expression in outer form. Of what use is an ideal that can never find expression? Of what benefit is it to one if he build wonderful ideals with the imagination and never see those ideals take form in the world? Of what particular benefit is it to him or to anyone else? No. An ideal must find expression, and when it finds expression, according to one's own way and according to his own method, then it represents something that is in his own life. But if it is an ideal borrowed from someone else, and then expressed to some degree, one does not live in it the same way as though it were part and parcel of himself. No one can copy after another and be successful in the highest degree. Of course, many think that there are minds so far superior to their own that they can copy from these minds and get greater results than through living out what they could think themselves. If you take a copy of a painting, you will always find, no matter how beautiful the reproduction may be as regards color and technique, there is something about it that is not alive. It is not a living picture, because man has not put his thought, his soul into the picture. And therefore, he could not express his thought or soul by copying the work of a master, no matter how great the master might be. We should then have our own ideals in life, and we should express them. We should then have our own ideals in life, and we should express them. The ideal, in the first place, may be crude, the expression still cruder, but continued effort to express not only gives a better and more perfect result, but opens the way for a larger and more beautiful ideal. There is something that each individual can do in this world, and do it better than any other individual. Some one particular thing. If one can find that which he can do best and put his highest thought and feeling into it, then it really becomes a living thing. The thought becomes a thing that is expressed in the outer world. Thoughts are things. But only when charged with vital energy do they become things. When you put your feeling into your thinking, when you have faith in the power that animates your being, when you have faith in your ideal, then the work becomes a living thing, something that in blessing your own life will as surely bless the lives of others. We want, then, to be practical in this world, but the practice of anything without a living ideal back of it is of little use in development. Remember, all development comes through effort made on the part of the individual. It does not come because of a power outside of man's self, for there is no power outside of a man's self that either retards or aids his development. It is simply in the way that he is adjusted to life. If he is harmoniously adjusted, then development is unimpeded. But when inharmoniously adjusted to life and its environments, although development is taking place, it is not the development that conforms to the true ideal. You have perhaps at some time seen a tree growing between two great rocks, and being hard pressed on either side, it loses its form. It does not express what it was intended to express. So very often in this life, through failure to adjust, there comes the pressure of environment. We attribute it all to environment. We say that it has made us what we are, that circumstances have so controlled our lives that we could not be any different, even if we wanted to. Now, this is not true. The strong mind, the strong will controls circumstances. The strong mind with the true ideal brings about adjustment to environment. We make our lives just what they are. They are not made for us. Individualized life is the continual unfolding of a plan that has been written into it. Now, the great universal soul involved the plan, but every individual evolves or gives expression to the plan that is written into the life. We are told that salvation is a gift, that it is free, and then we are told to work out our own salvation. The gift is this, that the plan was in the very beginning of things the plan of a perfect man, of the measure of the fullness of the stature of Christ, but only in the fullness of time, only through his own personal effort, was that plan ever evolved. From the crudest state, from the atom to the Christ, the evolution of the plan has been going on. And insofar as it is possible for us to know, the highest plan is that disclosed by Jesus the Christ. We as Christian people, believing in the teachings of Jesus, naturally consider his life as a full expression of the ideal man. The Buddhist would say that the highest plan of life came through Buddha, and from his conception of it, he would be right because he understands the plan better, possibly, than most Christians understand the Christ plan. The Hindu might say that Krishna gave the most wonderful ideals concerning life, so it might go from one faith to another. All are true to a degree. None encompass the absolute. We cannot say, as Christians, that the Buddhists are not right, but the Christians are. That the Christian theory of life is true, but the Buddhist is false. What we can say is this, that we get from the teachings of Jesus the Christ something that seems to satisfy, and that the Buddhist gets from the teachings of Buddha something that satisfies him. And the Mohammedan gets from the teachings of Muhammad something which brings satisfaction to his mind. God is the father of one great family, mankind. All men are members one of another. There is a great brotherhood of humanity. We have differences. We make all kinds of differences. We throw all kinds of limitations around ourselves, but there is just one God, Father all, Mother of all, who have made of one blood all people who dwell on the face of the earth. All people, not some people, but all people who dwell on the face of the earth. All people have their different ideals concerning life, but the main point is this. If we are living the Christian ideal, believing that to be the highest and the best, then that is all that is expected of us. Again, if the Buddhists, Hindus, and Mohammedans are living their ideals, why should we expect more of them? Let us recognize the fact that humanity is representing many different stages of evolution, and that which is good for one people at one time in their particular stage of evolution may not be good for another people in a more or less advanced stage of evolution. What is necessary then is charity concerning the ideal of other people. The only exception anyone could take is as to whether the people are living their ideals, whether they're living up to the best they know, and, after all, man is no true judge of his fellow man. So we need not take time to consider that. There's just one thing to be considered, not the ideals held to by different religious bodies, not the ideals held to by different nations, but the ideal held to by each individual person, because it all comes down to that. And what is each individual person doing with his ideals? Because if he is failing to express his ideals, then it would be better for him had he never formed any ideals. You might ask why. My answer to that would be this: that if you have an ideal in mind and fail to live and give expression to it, then that ideal convicts you, and it is the only thing that ever will convict you. It convicts you of failure to live your ideal. Jesus once said, "If I had not come, ye had not sinned." The question then naturally arises, how was it possible for Jesus to bring sin into the world? Only in this way. Jesus gave a higher, a more unselfish ideal of living, and people receiving and failing to live it were and are convicted by the ideal dwelling within them. And so we are judged by our ideals. And unless we are living the ideals we have in mind, we are out of tune with our conscience. If we are trying to live those ideals, remember, no matter how mistaken we may be, if we are trying to live what we believe to be right and what we believe to be true, then the way, if it is not altogether clear, will be shown us, because we grow through action. An ideal in mind prompts us to do something. The result is either harmony or discord, and the ideal must be judged by its effect. If everything we are doing in life is simply producing discord and unrest, then it shows that we need a new set of ideals. But whenever the ideal is producing harmony, greater peace of mind, greater strength of mind, giving us greater power, then that shows that we must be in the way that leads to life. But someone may say, "Oh, you are altogether wrong. You are not living up to the real, the truest standard of life, and you should make your standard conform more to what other people require." The records show that both Jesus and John the Baptist had the same difficulty. They said of John, "Why, this man neither eats or drinks. He goes out into the wilderness and separates himself from his fellow men. This man hath a devil." That was the only way they found to account for his unusual actions. And when Jesus went about among the people, eating and drinking and doing apparently very much as the people about him, they said, "Behold, a glutton and a wine-bibber." One sees then how impossible it is to adjust to other people's ideals, and therefore how necessary it is to have ideals of one's own and to live them as best one knows how, making mistakes, but finding out those mistakes through action. In this way, one makes his ideal something that lives in the world, for he is giving it expression. No one would think of keeping a little child from trying to walk, even if that child tumbled down occasionally. No, one would say that the falling down but intended to make the child become more careful, that he would try to overcome that condition of falling, and one would also know that every time the child put forth effort, he was making for greater strength as well as greater security. So our mistakes in life become to us stepping stones to a knowledge of higher things. It is evident that many people are not so much interested in their present ideals as they are in conditions of the past or future events. Some people are continually troubled and worried over things of the past. Other people are continually troubled over things of the future. Now, the one thing is this: we are living today. We are living in this hour, in this minute. The one thing that really concerns us is not how we are going to live tomorrow or how we lived yesterday, but just how we are living at this present moment, because it is that which counts. It is neither the past nor the future, but the living present. And therefore, the ideal should always be put in the present. The practice of the ideal should always be in the present. One must not wait or think that a time will come when he can give a better or truer expression to the ideal. But know that the time is here and the time is now. He should live what he believes is right in the present moment and try to do it as best he knows how. Put your ideals of health and happiness not into the future time, but right into the present moment. Realize that you can be well, that you can be whole, that you can be strong, and that you can begin to be all that this very minute, if you will it so to be. We acquire whatever we desire in this life in the shortest possible time by working for it right in the present, not delaying, thinking that we're going to be stronger, thinking that we're going to have greater intelligence to do it in the future. We gain our intelligence and we gain our strength always through doing. It is through action that greater intelligence and greater strength come into life. What we need then is more action, more practical action, more desire to express the inner ideal. Remember that to the ideal belongs the inner life, but the expression of the ideal is always an outer thing. The desire for health is in the soul and mind, but the expression of health is always in the physical organism. Let the physical organism express, then, all you desire to have it express. Desire is prayer, and if you pray knowing that you will receive, do not think that the receiving is going to come at some distant or future time, for when ye pray, believe that ye have. Not that you are going to have, but that you have. But, you say, how foolish that would be to say it is possible to pray and have at the same time. The ideal, remember, is the plan. If you have the plan worked out in your mind, have you not already begun to realize something of that which you desire? You could not work out something without the plan. Now, if you have the plan, you have laid the foundation. Just go right on and know that the building will be built on that foundation, and that you have really begun your building. There are times in life when the dreaming side, we might say, is necessary, when we have to dream about things. But that is only a momentary time, and then comes the action, because this is peculiarly a world of action. Dream just as true as you can, then make your visions come true. Make your thought pictures clear and well defined, and then go to work and make your dream a real thing in the world. No matter what your dream may be, whether it is a dream for health, a dream of happiness, or a dream to do good in this world, have your dream come true. Build your castles in the air, and then see them realized on earth. End of chapter. Stay right here. I'm going to go ahead and get ready to flip the page to the next chapter. Before we do that, be kind, hit that like button, and leave me your comment. Okay, next chapter is titled Success. A quote by Pope. All fame is foreign, but of true desert. Plays round the head, but comes not to the heart. One self-approving hour whole years outweighs of stupid starers and of loud huzzas. And more true joy Marcellus exiled feels than Caesar with a senate at his heels. End quote. A quote by W.J. Colville. Two things are invariably necessary to successful work, no matter what its line may be. First, the love thereof. Second, confidence in the success thereof. Only as we love can we work beautifully, harmonically, courageously. Courage comes with love. It is love alone that makes tasks easy and fingers fly fast. End quote. Very few people care to question the desirability of success in life, and yet many doubtless differ as to what constitutes real success. Some view success from the standpoint of the accumulation of material wealth. Others see success in political or social preferment. Still others in public recognition of literary or artistic ability. One person might attain to all these varying possibilities of life and yet not be really successful. Real success must be measured by a standard other than by the possession of any or all the things previously mentioned. A truly successful life carries with it something more than the possession of riches or any worldly recognition. The elements of success are inherent in every individual. The possibility of greatness is latent in every soul, and greatness may take on one phase or another, resulting in one or manifold expressions. That few people do really become great or attain to real success in life is not because they are lacking in possibilities, but because they refuse to follow the highest dictates of their own conscience, or because they are too lazy, either mentally or physically. It is hard to make some people realize that success must be attained through their own efforts. They think that luck or chance is going to bring about a condition whereby they will profit. Now, the way of life is a straight and narrow one, and the man or woman who refuses to recognize it as such cannot hope to attain any real or lasting success, because success in life has for its foundation the development of character. If there is lack of character, there can be no permanent success. People without character have sometimes the shadow, that is, certain external evidences of success, but if you could look behind the mask of life, you would find that they were deficient in the substance. If young men starting out in life with a business or a professional career ahead of them could rightly discern some of the real requirements of life and turn their minds to the accomplishment of certain definite action whereby they would develop their latent power and mental faculties wherewith to use that power, the true way of success would then lie open to them. Let us consider some of the elements which make up for success. First of all, the development of the love nature, which results in kindness of thought, of word, and deed. It is just as easy to be kind, to think kindly, and to act kindly as to think unkindly or act disagreeably. And the effect on one's own mind, as well as on the minds of others, is far more beneficial. It makes life easier to live and more worth the living. Sometimes we forget this one great essential of character and become impatient and fault-finding with others. When we do this, we are placing an obstruction in the way of success. Besides kindness, there's another element: faith. Faith in people we have to deal with, faith in human nature. If we do not have faith and trust in people, we are making it harder for them to have faith and trust in us. The thought we have in mind concerning them is what, sooner or later, they must feel, and it must result in an action in their minds which will call out the doubt and lack of faith we had in them, making them faithless to us as well as to others. How can a man have faith in himself and faith in his fellow men if his interests are centered wholly in himself? We want to think of people always as we would have them be. In order to inspire them with faith, we must have faith in them. We must believe in them and show them by our words and actions that we do believe in them. This will call out the best side of their natures and will help them in a true way. Having once started to do a thing, faith in one's own power and ability to accomplish the desired end is a necessary qualification to success. Hope, too, is an inspiring element tending to keep the mind cheerful and bright, impressing other minds and making everything easier of accomplishment. Much depends on clearness of mental vision, the faculty of perceiving things in their true relations and of judging them according to their value. Many people, with the very best intentions, make the mistake of seeing things as they would have them to be, taking no account of the difficulties which lie in the way, and when confronted by them, lose hope and courage and are turned back. The result of this is that they lose faith in themselves, and other people lose faith in them, thereby making the second undertaking harder because of failure in the first. In all success, there must be integrity of thought. This will find expression in just deeds. Integrity of thought is the quality in the life of man which seeks to know and understand things as they are, putting aside prejudice and bigotry, that the vision may not be dimmed, that the mind may see clearly, and so, through clear vision, can act rightly. Integrity of thought and of purpose causes man to adjust himself to his environment and thus establish true relations between himself and his fellow man. For a man's influence is determined by the clearness and integrity of his thought and the directness and energy of his action. As the mind thinks clearly, it is better able to act with decision, as clear thought finds its effective conclusion in what one accomplishes in the outer world. Besides clear vision, let there be perseverance. A thing may be difficult to do, far more difficult than what is expected in the beginning, yet that is no reason why it should be relinquished. In fact, it is the greater reason why it should receive all the energy of mind and body to carry it to its final completion. Whatsoever thy hand findeth to do, do it with thy might. This was the injunction of one who knew far more about the mysteries and struggles of life than we do. He who turns away from anything because it is hard to do will never succeed to any marked degree in anything he may undertake. But let him persevere, regardless of obstacles, and in doing thus, he will strengthen his character and call out real courage. When a man puts his hand to the plow, he should feel, first of all, that it is the right thing to do, and he should courageously face any and every obstacle. Having brought the undertaking to a successful termination, it will be easier for him to succeed in his next. Sometimes everything looks dark. You have faith in the thing you want to accomplish. You have faith in the people about you, yet outer circumstances seem to conspire against you. This is the time for courage. This is the time to reinforce courage with hope. It is well, then, to remember that the great things in life do not come to us without effort, that it is only as we use energy, as we persevere, as we keep working day after day, that we accomplish that which we ardently desire. We fritter away our force when we try to do two or more things at the same time. When the mind is engaged in one direction and the hands in another, the mind and body both become tired. The man who keeps his mind centered upon whatever he has before him to do will do it more easily and better because of that mental attitude. Remember, therefore, in the darkest hour, courage, hope, and perseverance are the qualities which will bring ultimate success. When we desire a thing greatly, we should be willing to work for the accomplishment of the desire. The working for it should be a pleasure and should not be considered as a burden or even as a duty, but as a blessed privilege. what greater privilege can one have than to see the manifestation of his own ideals, to see the things that he has wrought out in his own mind taking form in the world about him? There is nothing degrading or mean about labor, so long as that labor is unselfish, so long as that labor is going to benefit the world. It makes no difference whether a man tills the ground or builds houses or engages in mercantile life, whether a man is an artist or a day laborer. His work is honorable if he gives it his honest thought and does not try to avoid the responsibilities coming to him. No matter what position a man may occupy in life, he is of use in that station and should occupy it until he can fill a better one. And he can never fill a better one until he has made himself, in a sense, proficient in that one. He can make himself most proficient by doing his work in the best possible way, each day trying to do it better than the day before, gaining a little here and a little there. Through following this course, he makes himself a necessity to his fellow man. No matter what one does, he can do it best by entering into the spirit of the thing, by looking at the calling, whatever it may be, as one that is honorable and upright, and by doing the work cheerfully and well. The more cheerfulness and concentration we put into the things we do, the easier we will find them to do, and the greater satisfaction we will get and also give to others. The talent of success is nothing more than doing what you can do well, and doing it well whatever you do without a thought of fame. If it comes at all, it will come because it is deserved, not because it is sought after. A really successful life must, without doubt, be the result of thorough application to whatever calling one follows. Therefore, anything which tends to divert attention from the real issues retards success and interferes with individual development. As a maxim to be followed with undeviating persistence, there are few better than mind your own business. That the world follows this to any marked degree is not yet apparent. If people could realize how many heartaches, how many sorrow and mental distress could be averted by attending strictly to their own business, it would not take the world long to see the blessings flowing from such a method, and it would become the usual and not the unusual course. Concentration of mind is needful for the accomplishment of any definite goal. But there can be no concentration when the individual mind is prying into the life of another to find something which may tend to belittle or bring the condemnation of the world into that other life. There are characteristics of the animal nature which are not easily overcome in the life of man. The cunning of the fox, the instincts of the jackal and the vulture are only too apparent in what is called Christian civilization. That which is hardly commendable in the animal is infinitely less edifying in man. Scandalmongers, slanderers, and inquisitive busybodies are the prototypes of the lowest instincts of the animal race, and are more of a menace to the welfare of a community than thieves. For, as Shakespeare truly says, "Who steals my purse steals trash. 'Tis something, nothing. But he that filches from me my good name robs me of that which not enriches him, and makes me poor indeed." The poisoned and evilly disposed mind that makes a business of retailing gossip cannot be trusted in any emergency. Friendship with such a mind loses all its real meaning, and of loyalty there is none. There may be honor among thieves, but there is no honor in the heart of a slanderer, and the evolution of such a life must come through the bitter experiences always brought by willful disobedience to every known law of right. Said Buddha, "The words of a slanderer are like sand thrown when the wind is contrary. They return upon the slanderer himself, and a virtuous person cannot be harmed." There are many phases of minding other people's business to the detriment of one's own, some seemingly very harmless, yet all tending to destroy the real usefulness of the offender. They who are continually looking for and expecting favors from others cannot be said to be attending strictly to their own business. This method may seemingly advance selfish ends, but cannot bring permanent good because true development comes only through rightly directed personal effort. Much valuable time is spent in giving advice to others that is neither needed nor desired. Were the same time spent in living an example of superior wisdom, it would prove more effective than many words of advice. Freedom is essential to the highest growth and development of the individual, and it is absolutely necessary in order to be free, to respect the rights of others. There need be no selfishness involved in this attitude, which tends to individualize the life. Whenever a demand is made by others, minding one's own business does not in any way interfere with doing them good by lending a helping hand. Questioning the motives of others is another phase of minding others people's business. And a lack of generosity in this respect too often reveals the same underlying motive attributed to others by the self-appointed critic. True individualization will flow the larger social life. The ideals of the few, when practically applied, eventually become the ideals of the many. There is no conflict between real individualism and real socialism. They are the two halves of one truth. Individual and economic freedom must go hand in hand in order to bring about better social conditions in the world. No individual stands alone. He is an integral part of society, and the real law never works for the benefit of any one individual to the exclusion of all others. The law works to bring about the larger good for humanity. Thus, the individual in turn enters into the larger, the happier life because of the good that has come to the many. The man, then, who has made the greatest success in life is the one who has been the greatest benefactor to the race, is the one who receives the love of the many. It is only as he has given of himself to the many that the many in turn give to him. A man may have an abundance of this world's goods, but without the love and respect of his fellow man, his life is a barren one. It can in no way be considered a success. The real riches of life are not made up of material accumulation, but consist in the development of all the qualities necessary to the well-being of man. And these are the things that in turn bring him into touch with his fellow man, so that he is able, in a sympathetic way, to enter into the lives of many, understanding their needs and knowing how he can best be useful to them. The man who has succeeded in doing this is the truly successful man, is the man who will never know want of love, friendship, or respect, or want of any material thing, because he has sought and found God's kingdom. Having come into the inner kingdom and being also in the true relation to the outer kingdom, he has not only an abundance within, but that inner abundance finds true outer expression. True it is, he is not weighted down by vast accumulations bringing with them untold responsibilities. For it is well to remember right here that vast material wealth brings with it tremendous responsibilities that are not always recognized, but which nevertheless exist, and only as they are fulfilled does it become possible for the rich man to enter into the kingdom of heaven. The kingdom of heaven is a state of peace and harmony. Peace and harmony in one's own mind, and peace and harmony with the rest of mankind. And if one is not living up to the requirements of life, but shirking its responsibilities, there can be no such peace and harmony. Individual success, then, must never be considered apart from its effect upon society. If the effect of any given course of action by the individual proves beneficial to society, then there must be a corresponding benefit or success to the individual. So the wise course for the individual to follow in each and all of his undertakings is to ask himself 2 questions. First, what is going to be the effect of my action upon the lives of people with whom I am associated with? Second, what is going to be the effect of it upon my own life? When he has decided that the effect will prove to be good upon others, the second is easy to answer. That which is good to the many must of necessity be good for the individual. In the highest and truest sense, real success can never come to anyone who puts the accomplishment of mere personal ends in advance of the greater good he might do to the world at large. Real success in life is attained through losing sight of the personal self and working for the realization of some great and good end which will benefit and uplift humanity in a physical or a moral or an intellectual way. Selfishness is that false quality in man which breeds suspicion of other men, and the suspicion in the mind of the selfish man will call out suspicion in the minds of others toward him, thereby making it the less possible for him to become really successful. The truly upright man can never be selfish. He may desire his own good, he may desire an abundance of this world's good, but he will not desire them at the expense of others. For in the pathway to success, one can never expect to reach the goal through the failure of someone else. The world may think differently, but the world is not right. The man who makes the greatest success is the one who is thoroughly mindful of other people's interest, realizing that his own good is inseparably bound with the good coming to others with whom he may be associated. He will be considerate and fair in all his dealings. He will realize that justice and honor are the true basic principles for a successful life, and this sense of justice and honor in him will appeal to the minds of those he is associated with and will be recognized, doing away with suspicion or anything that could act to the man's detriment. The real success of life is not what an individual accomplishes for himself, but the good he has been able to bring to others. A life which has been devoted to the acquisition of wealth, knowledge, or even spiritual development for a purely personal gain is a life that has been wasted. In seeking to find itself, it has been lost in the tangle of personality. Man may have wealth and be successful if he is using the wealth that has been entrusted to his care in a wise and judicious way, by helping others to help themselves, not by accumulating and hoarding for the sake of accumulation or any personal end. Man may be successful in the field of knowledge, but only as he seeks to impart some of his own knowledge to those less developed than himself, and through the giving he receives a still greater store of knowledge. One may become successful in life without a thoroughly intellectual knowledge of the laws of life by being intuitively led into conformity to law. Nevertheless, the one who has an intellectual understanding of law as well as an intuitive perception is better equipped for a successful life. He then has reason for his inner faith. He knows intellectually that discordant and harmonious results come from a violation of law, and he is led to ask himself the question as to how he has violated it. Getting at the causes, he is able to adjust himself in a way entirely satisfactory to his own mind. This process of readjustment is most essential. Excessive friction and inharmony show a lack of adjustment to environment, and that a thorough readjustment is necessary. Therefore, the great process of life is to adjust one's life in accord with law, and when changes and new developments come, to bring about a readjustment so that through the perfect balance of life will come the real joy of living. Because Success that does not bring with it a joy in life and a joy in doing cannot be considered real success. At least it is only partial. The really successful man is the one who delights in his work and who gets a thorough satisfaction from the many other things in the world about him. One who would be successful in going to profit by understanding the true relation between the inner and outer worlds. He shall see that all outer things exist because of inner causes, that his own product, be it what it may in the world, is an expression of his own mind and thought. In order, therefore, to have that expression perfect and harmonious without, the inner cause, his own mind and thought, must be thoroughly harmonious. By doing away with friction in the inner, he avoids friction in the outer. Thus he consciously works from cause to effect. The real elements of success are not so much in one's environment as in one's own mind. A man must look there, then, for the real cause of success in life, and not to chance, luck, environment, or any external thing. To sum up, the elements of success might be enumerated as follows: a study of the inner law of life, and a study of the expression of that law in the outer world. The results flowing from such knowledge would be integrity, honor, clear insight, courage, perseverance, concentration of mind, and over and above all, the great soul qualities, faith, hope, and love. That cannot be pictured by mind nor expressed by words, but which all may feel and all may give expression to if they will to do so. For they are latent as living force and power in the lives of all men. Faith in God, faith in the power given us which comes from God, faith in our fellow men, faith, in fact, that everything is working together for our good and the good of all. Hope that will fill the mind with brightness, that will cause us to turn away from the gloom and despondency of life, that will bring gladness to our hearts, making our very faces radiate with the truest joy. Thus, our hope and faith may find abiding places in the minds of many, and a love receiving God in the soul, knowing God in the inmost, will bring us in vital touch with God in the lives of others. A love so wise and all-embracing that kindness will flow to every living and moving thing. A love that will tend to bring God's kingdom here and now, that his will may be done on earth, even as it is done in heaven. The individual who realizes the truth contained in these things will be the one who is the most eminently successful in life, whose life will become one unending joy. End of chapter. All right, if you haven't done so yet, hit that like button and let's head over to the next video where we will learn about friendship.